In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a corner-to-corner afghan, whether it's rectangular or square. I'm going to try to explain to you on how to do the decrease when it comes to doing a rectangle or a square. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to be working on this tutorial today where I'm going to explain the properties of the corner to corner when it comes to doing a rectangle or a square. We receive a lot of emails explaining how to do a rectangle with the corner to corner concept because a lot of people assume that the corner to corner concept has to be square all the time. Today's tutorial I'm going to visually take you through my little colorful boxes here to explain to you the properties of what you're looking for in the corner to corner. I'm going to explain what happens when you actually get to a physical corner for making it square, and then I'm going to show you how to go even further to make it a rectangle. Firstly, the corner to corner is simply corner to corner. We're going to say that this is our starting point right down here and we want to make our way up to this corner way up here. But I put this diagonal line here to indicate that this is actually a rectangle and not a square. I've done that on purpose, but I will be explaining the square properties to this as well. What I have is a basic idea on what happens when you're working on this. So what I've done is that I've done some lines here to indicate that this is an increase row and this is an increase row. So when we're working at it starting from this point of view, that these boxes right here are the increases every time we're adding something on top of it or something to the side of it, and this is what gives us the pie shape in being able to go out from a point all the way to a rectangular format just like this. When you start off, you're going to be crocheting the very first box that comes to be, and so I'm going to represent it with a square. So what happens here is that every time we go back and forth across the rows, we're always increasing, whether it's on this side and this side. It doesn't matter, we're increasing on both sides when we're doing the corner to corner. So this is our first row, we have our first box. So the very first box that we're going to add to this will be on top, which allows us to increase in the vertical motion, as well as that we're going to continue to go across the row, and when we go across it to the other side we're going to be also increasing it in the horizontal just like so. When we go to do the pass then going backward is that we are increasing again, so we're adding another box to it which makes it just like this, and then we're simply just making our way across the rows like this. So do you see that every time we do up in this direction and here right in these lines, the afghan is always getting bigger. The motion in between right here is just filling it out, but this is what causes it to grow when you're adding boxes to the outside. So as we continue to crochet, we're going to add another box there, and so then we come back across the row and start filling in the pieces in between just like so. And I'm just going to turn that in, and then we get to the bottom. So we've now increased again in the upper and the vertical and the horizontal. We're going to add another row, and again we're going to keep getting it bigger and then just continue to fill in the rows in between. So whenever you're looking at a corner to corner concept, you'll always notice that it does look like boxes going in the directions just like so. So this is what we have at this point. So we can continue to grow and stop into a square formation, or we can actually just continue to make it rectangle. What do we need to do the square? To do the square, what we have to do at this particular point is that we have to determine where we want the square to stop. So we have to determine within the lengthwise. The square can also stop in this direction. You have to determine which one that you want. It doesn't matter if it's square because either way you have to do it on the same pass. So what's going to happen if you want to do a square, instead of extending it and growing it out like so, you are not going to start off like that. You are immediately going to start the decrease to get smaller, and basically all it is that you start filling in the boxes right above on top, so we're no longer increasing and we go across like this and we're filling in the spaces. So what we had been doing in the past is that we've been going up all the way to the outside here of the increase, but we're gonna stop. We're not gonna go up and increase anymore. We're gonna stop one box early. So then when we come back in the other direction, we're simply just gonna fill that boxes in and come back in the other direction just like so and fill it in. So we don't increase anymore, so we just stop one box short from increasing, and then we then turn around and go back in the same direction, like so. Like so, and then you end up in the end with a full square just like this. So just get that last box in. So that's what happens when you decrease on both sides of the sides at one time. So what we did for that particular matter is that when we stopped equally on both sides and started the decrease, and so we just get faster and faster as we decrease. Okay, so that's all fine and dandy if you're doing a square, but what if you're doing a rectangle? So let's just track back to where we were, just like this. So what we want to do is that we want to continue to grow in one direction or the other. It doesn't matter which way that you go, you just have to commit to it. So when you're going to start the next row, you still have to increase on one side because you're on the increase panel just like so. But if you want to do a rectangle, when you come back you're gonna fill in all the spaces just like this. But because you don't want to grow it anymore in this direction, just for today's reason, is that we're going to stop so that the boxes are right on top. So we're not going to go all the way to the continuation of making this bigger unless you wanted to do it bigger. So for the rectangle, you can continue to grow this as much as you want. So on this side, this is actually doing a decrease as we're not extending any further, okay? So we're just going to continue to start up as normal, but we're not going to start with an increase, and we just come back like so. So if you want to eat it even longer, then all you just have to do is extend this side. So while this side is no longer increasing, this side is decreasing because the increase is going along this plane, right? So when you come back and you decide that you had enough, you want it as long as you want to, instead of starting off with an increase to make it longer, you are going to start back here. And we have instructions for that in video format as well, is that we start here and then we start decreasing it like so. Okay, so then you have your boxes in. Okay, so then basically you can start your corner to corner as normal, so you just continue to go up and across like so, and then again over, and then finally your last one. Okay, so it all depends on what side that you want to do the increase or decrease on. So for the rectangle, one side has to continue to increase while the other side stops growing so that it can make it to a full rectangle. So hopefully this makes sense to you if you want to give this a try. It's really hard to explain this concept when it comes to writing it down in a pattern, but this is how you do it if you can visualize it from one side growing to the other side actually stopping to increase to give you any other sizes. So if you want to do a scarf, you just have to continue to grow it in one direction just like so. So you'll continue to keep on growing and this side will continually catch up. So basically you end up with a scarf at some point that's really long, and then you'll notice that it's growing like this. And then you just, once you get to the length that you would want to get, you just fill in the remainder just like so, and then therefore it's completely done. So you can have a lot of fun with these particular concepts. So on behalf of yarnspirations.com and the Crochet Crowd, I'm your host Mikey. Hopefully this is helpful learning information, and until next time, we'll see ya.